Welcome to the Cybersecurity Matters podcast. Your hosts today are me, Daisy Steele, consultant at Nuco, and Gia Thomas, associate consultant at Nuco. We are thrilled to be joined today by Emily Long, co-founder and CEO of Adera. Emily brings a unique combination of technical insight, vision, and leadership. Over the course of her career, she's built and scaled world-class teams in high-growth environments, and today she's leading Adera as the CEO, a company on an ambitious growth journey with just 25 employees and big plans ahead. Emily is now in her fourth company with many of the same people, showing the deep relationships she builds and impressive leadership. She's passionate about technical and human skills and that blend. Emily, we're really excited to have you on the podcast. Welcome.
Thank you, Daisy. Thank you, Gia. I'm very happy to be here.
Amazing. So let's kick off with a classic. How did you first get into the cybersecurity and tech industry?
You know, it was honestly by accident originally. My background is very non-traditional. I started in the finance and accounting ecosystem at KPMG, one of the big four accounting firms, and was there for over a decade of my career. And starting in accounting and then going into more of like the people side of life. So I did a lot of recruiting, spent 6-7 years doing recruiting as well as human resources. And then I ended up in tech as a HR leader at Logic Monitor, which is a infrastructure monitoring company, which I would say is not quite cyber, but tangent, and started my tech journey there, then ended up in cyber after that through kind of relationships in the ecosystem. And then since then have been part of cyber for the last 3 startups I've been in, specifically cloud native security. So more of like container security. So it was, again, relationships are everything. You know, there's a lot of really cool stuff out there to learn. I think cyber is uniquely suited for people with mission driven personalities. So when I started to get involved in that, it felt very aligned with the type of problems I like to solve.
What a journey. It's always really exciting hearing how leaders first enter into their career path. So just want to sort of hone in on some things. Who or what has been your biggest impact on your career journey so far?
There's several moments that I like have these. I don't know if you've seen the movie Inside Out, the Pixar movie, where they call it core memories. You know, I have like these like few core memories in my career journey where it's like, ooh, this was like a pivot. The first, I like 2 notable ones I'll talk about, but one was at KPMG. Even before I was in tech, I had a mentor and boss. Her name was Tracy Hensley, and she was just this powerhouse woman in like a male dominated world. And she showed me the power of like keeping your uniqueness, but like pushing through really complicated conflicts and still representing her value system while knowing that she wouldn't be the most popular person. You know, she wasn't about accommodating other people. She was about doing the right thing. And there was something really beautiful about watching her in an industry that she talked about when she came up. She's like, oh, well, we couldn't even wear pants to work. Like we had to wear skirts. Like there was, so just this evolution for her. And she ended up being the, partner in charge of human resources for like the assurance practice at KPMG at the time. In my office. And she was just wonderful. She had all these little, she wouldn't take credit for these quotes, but I think about it a lot. She says, we have to focus on being tough-minded, but tender-hearted in the decisions we make. And I think about that a lot, where it's like, we need to make sure that we're doing the right thing, but that we're bringing, our heart and humanity into it. And, there was one time where she was disrespected in front of me. She asked me, Emily, I'll see you in a little bit, exited me from the room. And she ended up coming to me after and told me kind of what she did to like readjust this disrespecting moment and saying, I really, you cannot speak to me that way. Like I'm a leader of this business. And so she asserted her, I think the respect she deserved in a time where it was hard to do that. And so I learned a lot from her about kind of fighting that part of you who just wants to be liked by everyone. Because I think when you get into leadership and you're trying to do the right thing and push a value system or believe in something, the only way for that to work is for you to understand that not everyone's going to get it or be aligned with your vision. Or sometimes you're going to be in the wrong room in a company and be like, oh, I'm the one that's misaligned. Like I keep getting upset at all these people, but I'm the only one with this opinion. So like maybe I'm the problem. So that kind of awareness, I think, was really important. The second one I'll just note really quickly is I have friend and colleague, his name is Jeff Beal, who, when I was taking my first technical management role, so I went from human resources to taking things, I call myself the human garbage disposal. So like anything people don't want to do, I just pick it up. I became a COO for the first time, and I was managing things like finance and information security and things like that. But I was about to take my first technical team, professional services, technical support. And I told him, gosh, Jeff, I'm not technical. And he was like, you can never say that. He's like, the only reason you think you're not technical is because you believe you're not technical. And he schooled me. I mean, I will never forget that moment. It was like in such a loving way, like, don't put limitations on your capability. And I was taken aback. And I remember going home that night and being like, oh man, he's right. And so it kind of opened this whole new world for me to be like, I'm only not technical because I've been told in society that human resources is soft. And I've been told to myself that this is too hard. And I just started to learn about container security, container orchestration, cyber. And then all of a sudden I made a lot of friends in engineering. They taught me a lot of things. And now I manage, a team across a myriad of technical things, and our product is insanely deeply technical. But, you have to know what you don't know and know what you do know, but you have to kind of take the limitations off the possibilities that we put on ourselves. So those are like the two people and moments that I think mostly about my kind of core memories.
No, that makes a lot of sense. And it sounds like they had a real big impact on you. And it should be a saying, but great mentors make great mentors. So yes, it's really pleasant to have that experience. You've been involved in so many parts of business, as you mentioned, from scaling startups to shaping the culture. What is one achievement that you're really, really proud of?
Founding this business, I think, is one of the things I'm most proud of. Obviously, that was not done alone. I have two co-founders who were in this with me. We took a lot of risk together. We are a female-founded team in cyber and infrastructure, which is very rare. Not fully female-founded, not just one of us. And it was really scary, like super scary to do that. I mean, statistically, like getting funded by VC, I think it's less than 2% of women teams get VC funding. And so when we had decided to go embark on this journey together, we had that conversation that was like, this may not work. Like whether or not it should exist, we're not sure if it will. And it was really hard. We left our jobs and leaned full into making this happen. And we weren't getting paid for months. And, we all have expenses and things. And it got really scary right at the end there. And thankfully, we did get funding and things have been going really well, but you take that risk and you don't know, and you don't have control over that, right? It doesn't, you hope that people can understand your vision and want to kind of back you. But, I had a lot of advice on the way that's like, oh, well, the questions you're going to get are the negative. They tell, male founders, what are you going to do when you have all this money? And then they'll ask you what's going to happen when everything catastrophically fails? And so you have to go in with this, I have to end on the up. And so your brain, it just hurts. But I'm really proud of that. And that the three of us kind of found a way, and now we have this beautiful team creating some cool stuff. But it's it was really scary. It was super, super scary, but it worked out.
And thank God it did. It's,
yes,
like you said, a rarity in the cybersecurity industry to have, that women-owned, female-founded company. So it's a testament to you guys. So congratulations, and we're excited to keep seeing your successes. Going back to your history, obviously you've worked with some of the same people for the past 4 companies. What's the secret there to those lasting relationships?
Oh, I would say loyalty and honesty. It's really funny because I think people who expect to be these really great managers have this vision that they need to be this coach hype person who's always positive and always on. And I have found that, yes, you need to be encouraging and supportive and all of those things. But if you're with somebody that long, there's a lot of things that are going to go wrong. Tension in relationships between each other, stress in the business, highs, lows, and being able to show up completely honest with where you are and be able to have those dialogues, and also be willing to have the uncomfortable conversations well, this isn't working, or hey, you did this. And, I saw these things that you could do to improve. I would say a lot of high performers share very regularly that they don't get constructive feedback. And I think people are afraid to do that for people who are high performing. But the truth is like, there's all kinds of things we could all do better if we're taking enough risk and if we're like pushing ourselves to fail more. And I think that what's happened with the team that we've kind of collected along the way over the years is this confidence in each other's honesty. And I feel it too. I want to keep people around me that go, Emily, you are off. Like, you're here. We're all here. Like, hello. Because I need to be held accountable too. Right. And I think what happens when you get into like certain levels of leadership, and I thought about it very much stepping into the first CEO role that I've been in, is that I do not want to lose touch with reality. You know, I talk about hubris a lot. I've written about hubris, which is kind of this idea that when you get into this position of power, all of a sudden you lose touch with what's happening around you because everyone's like, oh my gosh, you're so smart. Oh, what a great idea. And I'm like, and I have these moments where like, I know that's not a good idea. So like, but when you know you're around people that are going to tell you, I'm not sure about that, no matter what role you hold, because, you know, titles are funny. It does make people feel different, even if you think that it shouldn't. So I think a lot of it's loyalty and kindness and understanding. I mean, we've gone through lots, you know, losses of family members, divorces, you know, kids coming into the world and enriching our lives, and bad days where our kids, you know, rip up our couch, whatever it may be. I think that there's, you know, a lot to be said about writing life together and knowing that, you know, we can hold each other through that stuff. That's kind of where we focus a lot is, you know, you've got to be honest. And you can't be unwavering about that. You have to be consistent. And there's something really, I think, comforting about that.
Yeah, that's so lovely. And I mean, at that point, you've kind of done life together for a certain aspect, your adult life. So important, and friendships really as well. I also loved how you mentioned it's really important to keep growing and everyone has the ability to learn more. I think that's so integral. Obviously, we work in recruitment. Someone might be an SVP or a executive, everyone has the ability to learn more and manage and just learn more in general. So moving on, let's talk about one of yours and ours biggest passion, which is people. After all, that's what keeps this industry moving. The tech world moves obviously very quickly, but people are still at the core. What talent topics do you think need the most attention today?
That's a good question. I mean,
it's a big one as well.
Yeah, it's a big one. I mean, you can go in a lot of different ways. Like I would say like the thing that comes to top of my mind is more around making sure that you are bringing in people. Like if I'm thinking it from like the talent, I'll start with my recruitment, then I'll talk about retention. But like when I think about recruitment, things are changing really quickly and we have to be really careful not to be homogenous about how we're bringing people into the industry. I think now that things are changing so quickly, we have an opportunity to start being more flexible about the type of people we bring in. So for example, it's like, I think a lot of people get very comforted by a resume having all of the things on it. I have found that the more we bring in people who have the aptitude to learn, that grittiness, the nothing is, beyond my ability to like try, or nothing's below me. Even in leadership roles, I think is really important. And I'm not sure that I think a lot of the homogenous nature of, in cyber, infra, tech, not just, women to men, but the ethnicity, sexual orientation, is because we're not super willing to say, well, they don't have this on their resume, but I see this tenacity, I see this grit, or I see they grew this other element of the business. I think if they learned this, they could really do that. Because I think people don't necessarily appreciate the ability to learn and how important that is, paired with grit, tenacity, leadership capability, aptitude. That kind of stuff, I think, sometimes gets washed over, and they promote people into leadership that just have the right things on the resume. Like they worked at the right kind of company, they worked at the right kind of this, but they didn't show their ability to do the thing you really need them to do, which is scale a team or, whatever it may be. So to me, I think we have an opportunity to stop being so close-minded on the types of people we bring into leadership so that we can start to expand things being appropriately different, so long as we appreciate and allow people to fail more and fast and just let people iterate, try things, iterate. That's the piece I think that we're really missing out on. I think, the stats like I don't want to make this a men versus women thing at all, but like the confidence to be able to apply for something that you're not fully, I think the stats are like, if men have 50% of the things on the resume, they'll apply, and women have to be 80% or upward. Like, we need to stop doing that. Like, if you think you can learn it, we could do it. We need to apply for it and put ourselves out there and be given a shot. So there's that kind of thing to me that I think it needs to really, particularly with like the whole AI boom and everything people are talking about, like we need more people in the room that are different. And I think that involves us being open-minded to give people a shot that aren't stereotypically aligned with the job we would typically place.
Yeah, and that diversity of thought piece is just so integral for a business to do well. And I feel like now the cybersecurity industry is slowly realizing that, but it's still going to take some time, I think, which is disappointing. You mentioned a little bit about what kind of leaders can do, but how else do you think maybe leaders can go beyond to build really inclusive kind of workplaces and environments for kind of everyone?
Yeah, I mean, you have to be willing to be wrong constantly and not see that as a weakness. I think there's a huge problem with people needing to be right and showcasing that they know more and therefore that they deserve to be in that role. I think when we can start getting over ourselves and realizing that good leaders, you hear it a lot where people say, well, I'm not, I like to hire people that are smarter than me. And I love that. And it's true. Like, my entire team are smarter than me at what they do, like by orders of magnitude, on purpose. Right. But most people who say that don't have the ability to check their ego when it starts to actually happen. They start to get worried because these people are doing more and being recognized more. But if you're sitting and being valuable in your role, there's always something else for you to be able to be valuable doing. And I'm not saying like, oh, I just get this. No, I mean, I had to go to therapy. Like, I had to go a lot of stuff to be like, it's okay to not be the best at this. In fact, like, that makes you better. You can learn from these people. And when you really believe that, you attract talent. Because here's the thing, like, if really high performers see you as a barrier to their growth, they're not going to want to work with you because they're going to be like, this person's not going to want to promote me. I can tell they feel threatened, like that kind of stuff. And you see that a lot. And you see really high performers get pushed out of places because they're threatened. Their bosses are threatened by them. And in many cases, people will surround themselves with people that aren't as good because they say yes all the time. So to me, it's really about, you got to get over yourself and be willing to admit that you don't know and that there's nothing wrong with that. In society, we got to be chill. Like, if someone says they don't know, how do they not? It's like, well, if we're all being honest, nobody actually knows what the outcome of the decision that they're making is going to do. We have to be confident that we evaluated the facts as much as we could in the data and said, this is what we believe is foundationally correct based on the information we have, but it can still be wrong. So it's not about being wrong as much as about how do you react to it when it does go wrong at some point. And again, if you're taking enough risk, then something should, because then you're learning. But I think we mess this up a lot. Like, there's this perfection complex that people go through in leadership, and it's really dangerous.
Yeah, no, it is. And people are also quite slow to hire at the moment. People are scared also in terms of making business decisions in case they might lose money and things. And I feel like it's quite interesting when it's obviously due to hiring as well. You have talked about potentially like the blend of technical skills and emotional intelligence. What does that kind of mean to you, and why is that important?
I think in leadership roles, you need to be able to have both. I think that it depends on where you're sitting in the org, on like where the greater than sign needs to lean in both directions. The big thing for me that I think that I try to instill in every company I'm in is that neither one are more or less valuable, or hard. They're both equally very hard to really be able to be in tune with somebody's feelings, what they want in life, to be able to react in times of challenge or conflict is really hard. Going into tech and solving technical problems, building, creating, innovating is really hard. And if everyone in an ecosystem agrees that they are both hard and both valuable skill sets, then you have a place to start. If you start with somebody saying, oh, I'm a person, so I know people things. I can't tell you how many times it's like, oh, well, what you do is so easy. I'm like, all right, go solve this problem. It's hard. Everything's hard. I wouldn't just be like, oh, just give me your computer. I'm going to start, writing some lines of Rust. It's like, are you kidding me? So I think if there's if we're all feeling that we're all respecting each other's things, then you can start to blend them and teach each other and be curious. Right. But if you think you're better than something or lesser than, you're either not going to try because you're worried of failing, or you're not going to try because you think it's not worth your time. So to me, it's all about establishing this very even understanding that everything is hard and it's all valuable. And then you can start getting people learning. Technical people who typically haven't leaned into emotional learning will start to see the value of that in their work. And I will say people like myself who really leaned in on the, I would say, less technical side early, now I don't feel afraid to ask questions and be like, hold on, I lost those acronyms. Can we start over? Can you draw a diagram? And then all of a sudden, But I think they say the reason why kids learn languages so fast is because they're not afraid of failing and embarrassing themselves. And so they learn. It's the same thing here. We get older and we can't get comfortable being wrong or feeling or embarrassing ourselves. So we just don't do it. So I think the blend of that, it's kind of off topic, but I'll go back to the initial question, is having both of them is really important. But I think the main thing that I focus on is valuing both as equally challenging and therefore opening yourself up to learning them. And I think the people who are most powerful and have the most opportunity are people who are willing to learn both.
No, absolutely. And I think authenticity is something that is integral to any company culture. And it starts with the leadership, being able to lead from the front in that sense. So really, really amazing reflections there, but we're going to zoom out a little bit. And we want to know, what do you think is the most sort of prevalent challenge for the cybersecurity industry at the moment?
Oh, noise. There's so much noise. I think it's really hard to know what anything is anymore, or what it does, or the problem it's solving. I would say someone who's a buyer or someone that's trying to solve the problem. We obviously have an opinion on what we believe a big problem is, which is proactive preventative security. Adera's whole premise is that we want to harden your runtime environments so that you can rely on your infrastructure when you're running specifically containers or running, AI workloads and GPUs and things like that. But we feel like preventative security is not focused on enough. And instead it's a bunch of reactive alerting and things that kind of, are screaming at you. But then that's also really hard for people to manage that load. But I would say, it's so noisy out there, and it's really, really hard, particularly now with the AI boom, to know what anything does or what your concerns are. I think I'm very worried about how we're using AI, more so that we're not thinking about how to secure it well. We're moving so fast to get it in, and leadership's saying, you got to use it, you got to use it, you got to use it. People are learning it as they go and putting it in their production infrastructures, and it's terrifying. But that's kind of where we come in with our premise, where we're really passionate about, proactive security. But that's kind of how we see cyber right now. But it's really funny being in kind of the cyber realm and going on a bunch of different websites and having people use the same words you use, and it being a completely different thing. And we're like, oh no. So you have to, start over and try to make sure that you're articulating yourself well. It's a really difficult, very noisy industry.
No, absolutely. And, things that you touched on there lead perfectly into the next question of, what do you think the rise of AI means for how we evaluate third-party code and supply chain security?
I mean, the way we kind of look at it is, open source security is now a really big deal. People are still talking about it. Several years ago, when we were pulling in open source, we're like, open source, amazing. Let's build our companies on it. And then all of a sudden we're like, oh shoot, where did it come from? What's in it? And then all of a sudden we start thinking about supply chain security and open source security. We feel very similar about AI. It feels very I'm having this deja vu moment of all of a sudden we have AI third-party code, and we're just being like, sweet, yes, I'm going to have Claude just do that, push it into prod. And then we're doing the same thing. It's still third-party code that you didn't generate, right? So our hope right now is that we start to take just a minute to think about what we're doing and put the right guardrails in place to make sure that we are protecting ourselves the infrastructure, giving our customers reliability in what we're doing. So for us, we think, on the Adera side, and what we're really trying to fight is this idea that we do not need to relive history. We can learn from our mistakes. We can stop and be proactive and build smart and build right. And that's really where we sit in this ecosystem. So AI for us is, we believe you should be hardening your runtime. If you're running agents, making sure that you're, isolating your agents from the rest of your infrastructure. If you're running your own hardware like GPUs, you should be isolating your GPUs. There's so much stuff we can be doing that's out there now that we're not, just because we're running so fast. We're repeating history. So we're trying to, really be loud about slowing down for just 3 seconds. I mean, we're not talking like slow down. We don't think you need to be slower. We think you need to be smarter. And that's where we sit in. It's like, don't change anything you're doing. Just run it securely and then go nuts. Just be wild, go fast, So that's kind of where we're focusing.
No, and it makes a lot of sense. And I think that's what makes Adera special. But in your own words, what makes Adera special, and how does Adera, address these issues?
Yeah, I mean, we take the preventative approach. A lot of people will say proactive or preventative in their marketing, but they don't actually mean it. They mean more real time, meaning something's happening and then we'll tell you when it is, right when it's happening. Our premise is that, when computing, over the last 20 years, we've just kept layering on to our hardware and plugging things with our fingers. And we have a bunch of applications that are plugging holes. Our premise, and then what makes us special, is we believe we're looking at security from the bottom up versus top down. So hardware, everyone starts with hardware. And then what happens from there, versus I'm going to just start applicationing myself out of my own problems, which just means more tool sprawl. So what makes us really unique is that we actually took the time to think about how hardware works and software works and started from the beginning, but actually not. We used some older tech built on top of older tech and merged kind of the old with the new, which gives us the ability to appreciate tried and true legacy software and then also modernize it. So you can rely on and see that, some of our code, that the really, I would say durable stuff that you would want to make sure works really well over time is 20 years old. And then it's we modernized all these Rust elements. So you can get kind of that security and safety and modernization at the same time. And it doesn't mean you have to do anything differently. You literally launch your infrastructure on top of us and you have inherent security. We're not telling you to change how you run, how you work, how you code. Because I think a lot of problems with proactive or preventative, where people say secure by design or secure by default, people envision I have to start over and rebuild. And we did that lift for you. So all you have to do is run our software and you get the benefits without having to change the way that you have set up your infrastructure, which we think is very meaningful. So we talk about hardening your runtime, just like hardening containers. Many of us came from ChainGuard before, who does vulnerability, low to no vulnerability images. Fantastic product. We think it's a wonderful pair to, the hardened image category is a really great pair to harden runtime, which is make your infrastructure secure, have confidence, versus let's just, get alerting. So anyway, that's what makes us really unique, is we're helping you not have to rebuild, but have the reliability of strong infrastructure from the outset. It's pretty powerful stuff. And it's really hard to do. Really, 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 really hard. These engineers are incredible. And I think this is a problem why a lot of people haven't solved, because it's quite hard to do.
Well, you heard it here. You've heard it here first. So thank you so much for sharing. We've actually now got a quick fire round. So there's no preparation, just instinct.
Ooh,
are you ready?
Okay. Maybe. We'll see. Yes. Go.
Okay. Espresso or latte?
Oh, neither. Tea.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Morning or evening?
Evening.
Film or series?
Wait, what was that?
Film or series?
Oh, gosh, it depends. I'm going to say series just because I'm obsessed with Ted Lasso.
Excellent choice. What would you sing at karaoke nights?
Oh, Alanis Morissette. Isn't it ironic? Yeah.
Fantastic. Window or aisle seat?
Window all the time. Every time.
What was the last movie you watched?
The Naked Gun. the new Naked Gun that just came out. And before that was the new Superman. I saw 2 movies this weekend, or the last time I watched it.
Mountain Peaks or Sunny Beach?
Sunny Beach.
And lastly, one meal forever. What is it?
Oh no. I mean, I love Mexican food, so I'm going to say a burrito every day if I had to do it.
Oh my goodness, we love burritos. And yeah, we were talking about them earlier, so really glad you said that.
Well, then we can, if we get stranded and can only eat one thing, I'm finding the 2 of you.
Fantastic.
We'll burrito together.
Oh, that's perfect. We'll have a lot to talk about after this.
Yes, we will.
I'm just going to hand over to Daisy for our final question.
Amazing. Thank you, Gia. And what's one piece of advice you'd offer to someone just starting their career in cyber or the tech world?
I would just say low ego. Just go in and do whatever needs to be done. I think people get confused that they get a degree or they have a focus area and they believe they need to focus on this one thing to make that worth it. But if you just take anything that's offered at you, or you see somebody just not doing something and picking it up, you will be more valuable. You'll learn faster. You'll get promoted faster. But you have to get kind of framing in your mind to say that there isn't a right way to do it. It's just, you got to start somewhere. So I would say that that's the biggest piece of advice, is just do what needs to be done wherever it may be, even if it's unrelated, because you'd be surprised what you get access and exposure to. And people see you as somebody who can really lean into the stuff that people don't want to do. And then all of a sudden you'll be doing the things you want, probably faster than other people.
Yeah, I love that piece of advice. That's amazing. Emily, thank you so much for joining us. Your insights on everything have been so valuable, and we've loved having you on the show.
Thank you, Daisy. Thank you, Gia. I appreciate it very much.